this sort of weekly format, like I've been doing it a number of times, or I just do it more like a podcasty sort of thing. I'm happy to talk with chat about some of the things that are going on over the week and some people's reactions, especially because it's a patch week. And with a patch week comes the first few days of the patch week, and typically with the first few days, it's fire and chaos, and everything's broken, and the game's literally unplayable, and LVY isn't working, and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to, talk a little bit about that, because my personal experience has been markedly different. Not to say that people are wrong, of course. If anyone's experiencing issues, report it, talk about it. That always helps. As for like how and what the actual impact is, that's tougher to gauge. And then, of course, there's the reactions, which with the internet, sometimes it tends to be hyper magnified, but we want to do our best to at least read through that stuff as well. One of the things that I was like kind of tilted about, and I spent some time on stream trying to figure it out with guild and whatnot, was the Discord guild chat stuff. I know that there's conversations about the whole privacy thing, and I'm not going to get into that part. I'm mostly want to bring up like the fact that it was buggy and it didn't work, and no one can really figure out how. So I followed all the steps. I looked at the articles and the things that would otherwise help us get it working, and it just didn't work. This morning, actually just minutes before I started this recording and broadcast, I'm like, let me just look and like just do a quick sanity check. I'll just hit the buttons and see if it connects, and it did. And so it's like, oh, okay, it's something on the back end. There were no error messages that were sent to me. So to me, that's part of the bug. Of course, the bug itself is it's not working, but I'd say the greater severity is that I'm not being told why. If I got an error message that said, server error or whatnot, that would at least help inform me, okay, it's probably a problem on their side. I'm not gonna sweat it. And it's been inconsistent. Some people were able to connect just fine. Others are probably still trying to initiate their connections. And it's just one of these many things. And we'll go over like some of the other issues that people have been running into where, the first couple of days of a patch are just like, bleh. They're just kind of crummy. Meanwhile, the weekend warriors, the folks who come in, after their day jobs and all that stuff, their 9 to 5s, they come in and be like, oh, okay, everything's looking all right. What's the problem, guys? And then the rest of us are just like, we're exhausted from like whatever bugs or whatever issues that people are running into. So what else have folks been running into? I'm kind of going off this at the top of my head, reports that I've seen. And like I said, I believe what's going on. I just happen to not experience any of it myself. Like when I happened to do the events down in the vaults, it was chill. It was springy. Like I was doing stuff. I was having a good time. I had no problems whatsoever, apart from like just the whole learning how to navigate stuff. Like I had no issue. Other folks, not so much. Timers were busted, and I'm not sure if that's like an entire region thing or a global thing, or if it was just like localized to like certain shards. Still a problem. But again, it's hard to gauge like just how much just how severe some of the stuff was. There might be some ongoing issues still, like I believe it was reported that it was a bug where trying to do the soiree over in Eversong and trying to do abundance stuff requires max level, which it should not. It is not a change, it's a bug, and that just needs to be fixed. Now, relative to other things, it's a pretty little baby potato compared to some of the other things that we could run into, like actual crashes, things like that, which I'm sure are happening elsewhere, but that doesn't seem to be widespread enough to be like, okay, this is like a big issue that prompts a region-wide realm maintenance or anything like that. Many events not triggering has nothing to do with add-ons though. Yeah, so like people reported that the events for curse surges, that the timer would disappear, or that visually, like when you go to the event map and you try to, I don't know if I can do this here on this character, but if you go into the events and then you see like these events, For some people, they weren't moving at all. They were causing errors or something like that. Now, keep in mind, like, this is all local time, so like cursor just started like 3 minutes ago. So hurry up, hurry up, get over there. But at least we do have like a schedule. But the fact that for some people, like, this list has been disappearing, obviously bad. Events not firing off at all, very bad. No one likes to show up for nothing. Like I said, that it seems to be something that isn't global. It just seems to be like server specific, shard specific, whatever you want to call it. Oh, like actual crashes and all that. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, that's usually one of those things that are like giga priority. Like, those are the things they definitely want to, they'll fix that over the whole level 90 requirement to get into like soirees and abundant stuff. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing when developing any game. This is me speaking like a bit more generally. Like, a lot of the time, like, these companies, these studios, developers, whatever, they need to triage. They need to kind of, for those of you who remember way back in the day, in the before times, and by that I mean when there was first aid, you had to learn it back in the vanilla days, and so you had to kind of choose the people that you wanted to heal, and it kind of, this applies to healers too. Like, sometimes you're trying to get the ones who are like, who are furthest down, or they're dying the most. Sometimes you need to kind of let things go. So in the case of like bug fixes and whatnot, it's very unfortunate where studios have to, decision makers within those studios, so notably not the QA but the QA leads, they need to kind of like prioritize, okay, what is going to be fixed versus what are we just going to like let happen, let it go live, because otherwise we, basically they don't want to delay the patch if at all possible. But it's like, for us gamers, we would be like, oh no, the patch has to be, it's got to be like 99 or 102% perfect before you put this out. But unfortunately, it's not a very realistic expectation. I'm sure like another big problem that the housing community is having is, I don't know yet. I haven't checked this morning, but it doesn't seem like basements work yet. I don't think we can move entrances to the house yet still, and that really sucks. So again, that's one of those things where decision makers over at Game Studio X or Blizzard or whatever, they need to be like, okay, do we delay the whole patch because basements aren't working, because that's like a very important thing for housing people, or do we just proceed but leave that part of the feature shut down, just make sure that nothing else breaks, and otherwise let's let people play the game? Are we okay with that? And that's just one of many decisions that happen when doing any sort of like QA related stuff. A lot of folks they'll rightfully be like, well, they're supposed to find everything and fix everything, but QA is just like, it's only one narrow step in the whole grand scheme of game dev. And of course, as someone who used to do QA, I'm very sympathetic to their cause. Like, I feel confident that, from my past experience, we do find everything, but sometimes hard decisions are made as to what actually goes live, what we let go live, or what definitely needs to be fixed, or, can we get the people who are the developers or whatever, can we get a pledge from them? Yes, this can be fixed within 1 week. We just need to do this. And then we'll be like, okay, go ahead. It sounds shitty, but that happens on the regular. And it's not great, but it's also, I don't know. I guess the question is, should we ever be, should we are used to it, but should that still be a sustainable thing? Should we really like come down hard on game studios that allow for these kinds of bugs to go through and threaten to compromise the player experience? Things have just kind of evolved this way, partially because of greed, of course, but it's also the opportunity for live patching, hot fixes or just providing day one patches and things like that. So those give all sorts of opportunities for game studios to be like, okay, one, we can add more to the game later, as in expansions and things like that, with and they could just do this through digital distribution. They don't have to go through the whole process of printing boxes and all that stuff. But also, it lets them kind of get away with, oh, this is a problem, but we want to make Street Day. We want this thing to go live. We'll fix it in like a day one patch, or we'll fix it within the first week or so, because the impact on players, there will be an impact. But is it going to be something that is going to be like really, really harmful for the game? And those are things that they consider and analyze and just kind of math out too. Only other complaint is the underground area. Can't really solo any of it. Force a group. Nobody will invite. Low gear scoring folks are stupid about that. So the way that I look at that feature, there are a couple layers to it. So like the solo person is not going to just blast everything day one, unless they're a tank. That's a hint. There's always been this conversation among gamers about, oh, Blizz, we need content that feels meaningful and challenging and fulfilling, and it celebrates we don't want to just one-shot everything. I'm being oversimplistic about this. But then there's another segment of players who are like, no, we definitely need to like one-shot everything. This needs to be like super accessible. This needs to be like, this needs to be super trivial. And so there's this constant, there's that constant dissatisfaction among segments of players who are like, this sucks, or this is too easy, or something like that. And I wonder how people, feel about like the whole outdoor public event thing. Like curse surges, for the most part, not soloable. Like you definitely want to have a group, and that's the whole point. That's the reason why they would be. Why they're timed and why they're staged in such a way to compel folks around the zone to be like, oh, it's about that time, buddy, let's go. And then everyone just kind of congregates at that one spot, blasts, and then moves on to do their own thing. But when it comes to like these sorts of journeys and whatnot, at least the way I see it, like, I think gamers often compare their solo performance to what other people are doing and are like, how do I get closer to that but still be solo? And the only like kind of compromise that we've seen is the idea of like this kind of like progressive player power that's zone specific. It is not fast. It is meant to feel like this journey. So people are going to be in there and they might do like those whippy little temple strikes and that's it. And hopefully, as these public events, because they go on down there too, as those public events are going on, people can at least participate and like feel like they're a part of it, even if they're like undergeared and otherwise vulnerable, or if they just play as a healer or whatnot. So they can like at least do something. At least I feel like they can do something. Of course, again, my perspective is all kind of out of whack because I'm a tank and I'm just like, ooh, where's this? And like behind me, there's like 30 guys wailing on me and stuff. I'm like, huh? So I know that my viewpoint is a little like, but I like to think that this is it's a good balance of like all these different player tastes. I've seen other folks talk about how they just don't like the whole structure of it, how they're corralled into one event. They're just kind of like chasing a thing all the time. And I don't know if that's like a self-inflicted thing, because it's like you can get off this train anytime and, you can hop on or just do like a certain thing and just, stay there instead of feel compelled. But I think it's because like we see these alerts or we see these beacons on the map. As gamers, we might feel compelled to be like, ooh, I think I really want to like go and do that and participate because the map is telling me to. So it's kind of up to us to decide how to soak that in. And then this first week, I think it's like the newness of it that has us being like, ooh, what's this about? And then, and of course, because we get some of the highest participation rates early in the season, we want to jump into all that. I feel like the way the mob placement is, they're spread apart until you're trying to like go from point A to point B, and there's stuff in the way. You're either being trying to be careful about trying to not aggro stuff, um, or you're not, and you're just hoping that you can get through. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But there's also things that that help you move around the zone as well. Like as you unlock some of those powers, and I recommend for folks unlocking those special movement powers. Like you find these like keys or treasures just from killing mobs, and then you find these treasures, you get clues and everything. I was doing it on stream. It was pretty fun because I was like, oh, I'm actually like doing this like organically, or like on my own. But it helped me zip around a lot faster. Like there's like additional flight points that I unlock. There's additional jump points that keep me in the air so I can like get from one place to another. It's a game, and some people, they don't want it to be that kind of game. They just want to, why do I gotta jump through all these hoops to make it easier? Why don't you just make it easier, Blizz? It's a fair question, but I think that's a discussion that doesn't have a right or wrong answer, and so folks are just gonna keep engaging in that talk. Yeah, like being a tank, it makes it makes people's reactions to my takes highly dismissive whenever I talk about world content. Oh, you would talk about that because you're a tank, and I'm like, damn right, I'm a tank. What am I, stupid? No. Yeah. But no, it is important to bring up like how people are feeling if they're less geared, or if they play as a certain spec, or if they want to play as a healer and they are under geared. Like how do you cater to all that stuff? But then when Blizzard answers that with something like, oh well, we'll just item level scale, or we'll mob scale things, then you see different sorts of outcry. Oh my god, they're making it, they're making the game literally harder if I gear more. They're punishing my progression. And gamers will say all sorts of things, man. That's the other thing too. Like this patch has been very, very generous about getting folks started. First off, there's the veteran stuff you can buy if you happen to have excess field accolades. There is the 4 zone event stuff where you can get yourself some veteran gear by redoing the events once. There is the layer boss. There is the many weeklies that not just give gold, because or not just give gear because you only get gear from like the first couple of those, but then you also get like oodles of gold and crests and what have you. There's the new weekly that gives the Trove Hunter's Bounty, which gives you access to hero gear if you can manage to clear a tier 8 delve. There's the champion piece that you get from combining the two, I don't know what they're called, but you get like that poison kind of gear, and that's going to be kind of important for transmog collectors too, because doing those unlocks new, those are new appearances that you happen to get from those. And there are sources that I haven't really thought about, and then there's of course running Mythic Zeros. Like the gearing is pretty generous at every level. It's just that the season hasn't started, and of course we've been hearing a good bit of that too. Oh my god, how come Mythic Plus and raids aren't open? That sort of thing. Next week it's going to be very predictable. We're going to hear, oh my god, how come we're not seeing how come story mode isn't open yet? That's another great question, and an ongoing discussion that's been going. As for going to the vaults, that's different, so the way I kind of look at it, like if you're going to the vaults as like a stop on your whole journey in your play session, it does feel like kind of a pain in the butt to fly all the way down and fly all the way up, and it's also kind of like, it also feels kind of, it's jank, but it's not. Like they considered it. Like when you get to the actual vault, you're dismounted, but then when you mount up, you're like super fast, which works, but it's also kind of not very elegant, in my opinion. Like that's something I'm like, yeah, it feels kind of weird. It's too bad it's not like a clean thing where we can't just fly all the way down. because to me that just feels more consistent. It feels better. And then once we get to the vault, then it dismounts us. That would still be a little jarring, but at least that's it. I haven't really paid attention to story spoilers. And so, like, I've been seeing a lot of folks that feel vindicated after seeing the story of like the patch campaign and everything. They're like, oh my god, you know, it totally wasn't like what the data mining said. And I'm like, no shit. It wasn't like what the data mining said. You know, this is, so here's me starting shit. I think making content around story spoilers is bad content. That is my take. I know for me as a creator, it's like, it's a waste of time. Why am I talking about story that I'm not even sure is going to happen? Data mining's one thing because it's like, okay, it's in the game, and now I'm just going to speculate, like, is it going to come out in this form? When is it going to come out? You know, hey, everything that's coming in 12.1, yeah, but when exactly? I don't know. But when it comes to story stuff, I don't know, man. Like, folks will react to limited context and then take it as fact and call it bad writing. And no, speculation is fun, but when it comes to these sorts of story spoiler reactions, it's not speculation, it's reactions. And people are expending their precious energy reacting to this sort of stuff. And then from there, they do this weird thing of like setting an expectation or wondering if their feelings are going to be vindicated or proven wrong or something like that. And I don't know, it just feels like bad content. This is hard for me to talk about because I don't even know what was data mined and what people were saying, because I that's something that I almost purposefully don't pay attention to. Not even out of principle. It's not even, oh, I don't want to see spoil. It's not even that. It's just so uninteresting to me because I don't know if it's going to be the actual story, you know. And when I did go into like some of those story spoilers and would look at that sort of stuff, I would think to myself, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? But I don't know, because the kind of experience that the game developer is trying to craft for me, the context around this stuff, it's not there. And what I'm seeing might not even come to pass anyway. So I kind of just stop paying attention to that sort of stuff. And I feel bad because I'm kind of trash talking folks who put a big emphasis on that. Like, I know Taliesin likes to do like big analytic thingies on like cinematics and story because that's important to him. And it's important to a lot of other people too. I just feel like talking about that is sort of a waste. So it makes me think back to a tweet that Mr. GM put out. I talked about this a number of times. I can't help but talk about it more. I don't have the tweet on me, but he said something along the lines of, "Hey, what if I do a news show that focuses on like in development stuff and data mining and things like that, and come at it from this angle?" And I've been going back and forth. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, it'd be cool if people are, if people are mature about it and they, you know, they come into this knowing that this is all just data mine stuff and we're going into it with that energy. But at the same time, people are not very mature about that sort of stuff either. And they will spread the word in disingenuous ways. And then we'll get like these player reactions to things that aren't even necessarily happening. We just kind of speculate it's going to happen like this, and then have takes about, oh, well, this clearly is a dumb decision Blizzard's making. Psh, I quit. You know, it's like these wild overreactions from folks. And story stuff would be part of it. You know, we would see people reacting to the game months before it actually gets into their hands and it's being read to them by someone else. because they're given their takes as well, or they're just given like the raw information and then they decide for themselves using their own sorts of decision making, slanted a certain way, not really given, not really guided by what the game is really trying to do. And a lot of people just can't handle it. A lot of people can't handle data mining and stuff now. They'll look at things as if, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. Oh my God, this trading post stuff that's been, I saw it from data mining like 2 years ago. Where is it, Blizz? Rah, rah, rah. And that sort of energy it's not needed if we didn't have data mining at all. But I think we'll never really be able to close that box. I don't think we'll ever really get away from data mining because someone's going to do it anyway. If there's a real casualty of this whole 8-week patch cadence, it's that it's very unreasonable to try to co-develop a PTR, one for the purpose of testing, but also walls off story spoilers and other quest things and all that stuff, because that just kind of takes resources away from the actual development of the PTR, for the sake of avoiding spoilers. So it's kind of this unfortunate thing. If patch cycles were a good bit longer, I think that'd be different. And then of course there's patches that don't have any story related stuff at all, then it's like, who cares? No biggie. Okay, so here's what it was. It was just the dungeon journal showing Zul'jin as a boss, and everyone freaked out saying he's being killed off. We still don't know that even now, haha. Yeah, so spoiler alert, sorry guys, like he got took, and sucked through a portal or whatever, like, and then we'll see what happens. And at least the way that I saw that cinematic, that was the intent the whole time. Some will probably say, oh, well, clearly, Blizzard saw our reactions and they changed it. And so and I think it's that sort of obsession or that sort of desire to feel empowered as a gamer. Oh, our outcry caused them to change things. And so that's why they made that cinematic that usually takes like months to like plan out and put together. No, they did it like in a few minutes because AI. Something like that. There comes a point, and I don't know where I've seen this, but I've seen quotes go around where, from writers or directors or whatever. There's a line that's crossed where the fans feel like they're writing the story, and then the writer themselves, the creators themselves, they like lose all that power. And the story suffers for it, because then it becomes like this series of wish fulfillments and non-surprises that are coming from fans. Like it's different from speculation. It's like, oh man, I totally think that Jon Snow, yada yada yada, some or other. And then it happens, and it's like, oh, we knew it because they pieced everything together. We're so good. Versus, I can't think of a real example right now, but people kind of speculating themselves into like this frenzy, and then something else happens, and then people are pissed because what they speculated felt more fun. They got more excited over that. The problem is they just thought of something that just makes them excited, as opposed to, experiencing the story and being taken for a ride. It's a tough conversation to have because you're fighting people's feelings on topics like these. Some people hate feeling powerless when it comes to the outcome. I'm the type who just enjoys a story. Like, I don't like getting spoilers. I don't like speculating too much. I just want to sit down and watch this Terminator movie. And then when it's done, I'm like, okay, well, I watched it. But I'm a fan, so I'm going to watch it. Yeah, so there's that. Speaking just for me, I don't go in with those sorts of expectations, and if anything, I just don't feel that burden that some others do. If someone wants the story to go a certain way, they're afraid to write a fanfic, and there's tons of them. There's a huge industry around fan fiction. It's great. People love doing it. People love reading it. because it gives an opportunity to see someone's vision of how they would like the story to be, until it's like a self-insert with lots of perverted stuff. Then it's like, oh, so you just wanted both of them at once. Got it. Right. Windrunners. Oh my god. There's plenty of well-encrypted cutscenes that stayed hidden right up until the player sees it in live. Yeah, like the in-game stuff. That tends to be less encrypted. The actual cutscenes, the pre-rendered cinematics, those, they just leave those out, and then they just don't work. So that's easy. The in-game stuff appears to be harder. So that's what I'm saying when I think there's like certain consequences of the 8-week cadence that they don't really give themselves, they don't even bother giving themselves the time and energy to encrypt that sort of stuff, because it's like, yo, we got stuff to do, and this is going to take this much time. I don't really know how much time it takes. I figured that it wouldn't be much, but whatever. But that's me speculating why they don't encrypt those cutscenes or provide like lines of text, because, well, I guess the lines of text that we usually see those in like alphas and betas, because theirs are just not even done yet at all. We should have 10 to 12 weeks between patches. I don't know if that's a real solution. I don't know if that. I'm a skeptic as to whether that'll actually change anything, aside from making people think that they'll feel better about a longer wait between patches. Because even an 8-week patch, people, we get this, what I see is a pretty even split. Oh my god, finally. Oh my god, I've been waiting for something else. I'm done with stuff. Are we in the next season yet? And so it's kind of funny. Like, patches are too short, seasons are too long. Does that make sense? Well, okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what different people different people say. To me, a season is comprised of like strictly the things that fit into the context of a season. So like, how long is the raid open? How long is mythic? How long are keys open? And what about like in PvP? Everything else feels kind of evergreen now. Because I'm either getting, from all this zone content and whatever, I'm either getting what I can now, so I have player power to do the things that I want to do, or it's just something for me to go back to someday when I feel like collecting a whole transmog set or the core or whatever. People consume WoW and their games in different ways. Like, there's very much this crowd out there, and they're very loud about it, who the cornerstone of their commentary comes from like this mandate, this requirement that everything that is being put out must be finished within the context or within the time frame of when it comes out. So by that I mean, remember Shadowlands? Sorry for the trigger warning, but I remember Shadowlands when all the Covenant stuff came out and yada yada yada. I very distinctly remember the collection crowd being like, "What? I can't collect everything before 9.1? What the hell is this?" And I'm thinking to myself, you want to collect the entire expansion's worth of stuff in like one like Shadowlands was the most front-loaded collection expansions ever. I can't think of anything else that is heavier than Shadowlands. That bitch was thick. You know what I mean? But we saw that crowd, but I heard that crowd. I'm like, dude, y'all I'm sorry, I think they're all crazy. Now, the arguments against like Covenant swapping and the friction and all that, like, I get that. But it was just more like going through all the motions of unlocking this stuff and getting all the collections they want. I'm like, holy cow, dude. Now, years have gone by, And there continues to be like this resounding argument of, yo, dude, let me get a Shadowlands remix now because I can't go back into all that stuff. Um, and I get that. At least when I was there though, during that time, it felt like one of the it's gonna sound weird. It felt like one of the best WoW experiences I've had. The whole collection aspect of jumping from covenant to covenant and make my own little system of like, okay, I'm going to jump to this one, I'm going to do things, and I'm going to jump to the other one, I'll do some other things, and I ended up collecting everything that I wanted. It wasn't literally everything, but it was everything I wanted, which is like all the transmog sets, pretty much everything transmog related. I ignored all the mounts, and it was very fulfilling for me. You know, I would say that it kind of sort of changed my trajectory as a player, from like this casual PvE person to someone who was like pretty big on collecting, even though I only collect certain things. But it was great for me. So the blueprint contest is something that I started like just the other day. I put out a post. I'm going to continue putting out posts because I really want folks to participate in it. And I've started numerous conversations about it. But why? Why am I bothering with this whole blueprint thing? And by that I mean I'm making a contest, and it's going to run for about a month, where I'm encouraging people to make very basic blueprints that only involve neighborhood decor, not even like community coupon stuff, like just stuff that you buy with gold, and make like low end basic builds, but you know, make them nice to have like a nice starting point for players, or you know, people who just want like a basic house and they don't really want like the box that it comes with. um first I want to clarify that yeah, like it's like for those who are participating, it's only decor that you buy in the neighborhood with gold. So the stuff that you get from community coupons, that's not allowed. The artisanal rooms with that you buy with community coupons, those aren't allowed either. You know, it's pretty restrictive, because the idea is, the point is, someone who's like kind of like new to the whole housing thing, they probably don't have a lot of levels. They probably have no idea where to get the core and don't understand like what it takes to get some of the stuff. But they just want a house and they have gold. And so, brap, give me something. And that's what I want to do. I want to seed the community with a bunch of these starting blueprints. I'm using a context to do it. And so, yay.